But let's head now into National 2 East, where, like in National 2 North, 3 teams have picked up all 15 points which have been available to them, including early table toppers Canterbury. Another strong showing last weekend from the City men, 49-21 victory over Worthing, and it's their best start to a season since 2015. But arguably their toughest test comes in round 4 as they travel to Guernsey Raiders, who, like Canterbury, have a 100% record to their name. Great start to the season for Jordan Reynolds' side. They backed up 2 home wins with their first away victory against Havant last time out, a 39-20 win at Hucks Lane. So they will be hoping to maintain their excellent start to the season at Foots Lane, but something's got to give between Canterbury and Guernsey Raiders. A great fixture to headline National 2 East this weekend. Tunbridge Julians on the other side, who have 3 wins from 3 to their name, and Jordan Turner Hall and Seb Sherwood's men go to Worthing on Saturday. And speaking of Worthing, they are one of 4 teams yet to open their accounts in this division, and one of those sides are also Oxford Harlequins, and they are our featured club on the National League Rugby preview show this week. Oxford Harlequins taking on Henley in a bit of a local derby at the Horsepath Sports Ground on Saturday afternoon. So we chatted to Director of Rugby and head coach Pete Davies about the local derby against Henley, how they've settled into life in National 2 East, but also the fact that they remain as a fully amateur side in National League Rugby.
That's been our mantra since I took over at the club as a head coach. We wanted to be the best sort of amateur club, community club in the country, and get as high as we possibly could with that pretense of not paying any players. And we don't pay any players. And we're going to stick to that, partly because we haven't got any money. Need a plug for some sponsorship there if possible. But any money which doesn't come into the club, it gets invested back into the club, into the facilities, into the juniors, the minis, the girls, the women's, obviously the senior program, medical support, facilities, getting the club as good as we possibly can get it. And so we are an amateur club. We don't pay. What we do have is a really, really good community rugby club, which functions really well. It's got a good culture, great people, lots of people playing rugby on Saturdays and Sundays. We put obviously 3 adult teams out in the leagues, which are all being really competitive. We've got a women's team. We've got a thriving junior section of minis. We've got a girls program, which is up and running and coming on leaps and bounds. We're getting more numbers every week for that, which is really pleasing. And so if our goal is to be the best amateur club in the country, we're a long way towards achieving that with the way we're doing things. And I'm just delighted with the progress of all the squads. With 2 promotions in 3 seasons is speaks volume for the lads who are at the club. They do it for fun. It's their hobby. And we have a good time when we're doing it. Professionalism, family, and belief are our 3 key buzzwords. And they're not just buzzwords which we talk about. We live and breathe them. And it has meant that we've had the success on the back of that. Players want to play for Oxford Harlequins. In spite of not being paid, they want to turn up for the club every week. And they don't have to. It's cold, wet, Tuesdays, Thursdays. The lads just turn up in their droves. And they desperately want to play for the club, whether it be 1s, 2s, or 3s. Always wanted, never needed is one of the things we always say to the players. And I think that's one of the reasons why players want to come to us.
And maybe that sort of dedication to the club's probably the right word, Pete, and commitment was perhaps, best encapsulated last season for you guys. Am I right in saying you were, just to break it down for people who don't know, sort of the last 3 seasons for Oxford Harlequins? Obviously, you went on to win South West 1 East, if that's right, Pete. You then were in Regional 1 South Central, shifted to Regional 1 Midlands, and then obviously you find yourselves in National 2 East. But on the Regional 1 Midlands season and the promotion, obviously it's completely different geographical area for you guys. So to ask players to commit to going pretty much travelling north every other weekend and to go on and get promoted, does that best encapsulate what you just said there about that commitment and dedication the lads have to the cause, no matter if they are playing first team rugby or third team rugby?
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough last year. That Midlands League is hard. And the travel doesn't help. But the guys, bought into it. We said at the start of the season, we wanted to go for promotion. We'd spent the previous season in South Central. That's a really tough league, the likes of Havant and Wimbledon, Camberley, London Welsh, Maidenhead, real good clubs. And going to the Midlands was really tough. Stourbridge, Bridgnorth, um, Kenilworth, Derby, good rugby clubs with good history. But we went for it, and we were determined and stuck with the cause, and the lads committed. Fair play to them, and we got promotion. Was it 2 games to go? I think it was, which was really, really pleasing. And then we always wanted, obviously, to get the National 2. That was always our goal. Whether they put us on the East or the West, we didn't know. We didn't particularly care. But I'm quietly pleased we got into the East, because it means I get to play against and coach against the clubs I came across when I was coaching for Henley.
It's been an underlying theme of our chat, Pete, that it is a one club, one team effort. But just to focus on yourself a little bit, obviously you mentioned before that Henley Hawks are your former club, and that's obviously who Oxford Harlequins take on this weekend. You were obviously at the club when they were in National 1. I think I'm right in saying, Pete, you guided the club to the 3rd tier as well. So what are the feelings, what are the emotions going to be like for you on Saturday to come up against a club where I think you spent 8 years at?
Yeah, well, it was actually a lot more than that. I coached there for 8 years, but I played there for like 10 years before that as well. So when I first came to England, I played for Henley back in 1998, back in the days when it was called Dewson 1, and we got promoted to what was then Allied Dunbar 2. It was a long time ago, which was essentially the championship back then. So as a player, we flirted between the championship and National 1. And then when I went back to coach then, we were at National 2 and got promotion to National 1 a couple of times. So I've got a great affiliation with Henley Rugby Football Club. It was a big part of my life for a long time as a player and a coach. I had some amazing memories and huge successes there. And I've still got lifelong friends who are club members, particularly the old boys who I played with, and they're now supporters. The director of rugby, Luke Allen's a really, really good friend of mine. I classed as one of my best mates. He was my forwards coach, actually, when I was last coaching there, and he then went on to become head coach and now director of rugby. Like, he's a brilliant, brilliant man, a great rugby man, and a good friend. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Obviously, it's going to be a hard-fought derby, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll never shy away from that. And irrespective of my feelings towards Henley, and I've got obviously great affection for the club, Oxford Harlequins is what I'm all about right now, and what I have been invested in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. And that's not going to change anytime soon.
So big thanks to Pete for his time earlier in the week, looking ahead to that game against Henley Hawks on Saturday. And if you are actually a student in particular in the Oxford area and knocking around the Horsepath Sports Ground on Saturday afternoon, you can actually get in to watch this local derby for £5. It's an offer which Oxford Harlequins are promoting this weekend. So if you are a student in the Oxford area and are looking for a bit of a sporting fix on Saturday afternoon, head down to the Horsepath Sports Ground and you can get in for just a £5. That is value for money if I've ever seen it, and also a local derby as well. What more can you want? So let's have a look at the table before we go into a bit more of a thorough look at the fixtures for round 4 in National 2 East. As we've mentioned, Canterbury, Guernsey and Tunbridge Julians there have unblemished records so far, whilst at the other end our feature club Oxford Harlequins, along with Sevenoaks, Colchester and Worthing, are yet to take a seat in the winners' lounge. But that can change for Colchester this weekend. They're back at home on Saturday afternoon, where they will face, as you can see in front of us, Old Albanian. Colchester did earn themselves a try bonus point last time out at Raven Park. Can they improve on that in round 4? We'll have to wait and see. Dorking versus Bury St Edmunds, good wins for both last week, particularly Bury St Edmunds, who dispatched Oxford Harlequins 61-33 to open their account in style. Guernsey versus Canterbury, we've touched on before. Two of the front runners doing battle at Foots Lane. Havant versus Westcombe Park. Havant will be looking to bounce back after that home defeat to Guernsey last time out. Westcombe Park rolling into this one after beating Henley 32-29 in round 3. Speaking of Henley, as we said, they take the trip to Oxford Harlequins on Saturday. Sevenoaks host Barnes. Adam Bowman's side yet to taste victory, but Barnes did lose this game against Sevenoaks 31-27 back in January. So Sevenoaks will be hoping for a repeat on Saturday afternoon, while Worthing entertained Tunbridge Julians, with the host aiming for their first win of the season.